Another cold case has recently been solved which gives hope to families still waiting for justice. An 83-year-old former reverend has been arrested for allegedly killing an 8-year-old girl in 1975 while she was on her way to his Bible camp, authorities said. The reverend was a family friend of the 8-year-old victim, Gretchen Harrington. On August 15, 1975, Gretchen Harrington was walking alone to her last day of camp in Marple Township, Pennsylvania, when the suspect, David Zanstra, allegedly drove up to her in his green station wagon, prosecutors said. Not only was he a family friend and in a trusted position, he was also the father of one of Gretchen's friends, so the 8-year-old got in his car. David Zanstra confessed to police last week, according to the criminal complaint. He allegedly told authorities that once he got Gretchen in his car, he drove to a secure location. He then asked Gretchen to take off her clothes, and when she refused, he allegedly beat her to death with his hands. David Zanstra allegedly disposed of her body and then went back to the church as if this was his normal routine. Zanstra, who later served as a reverend in Texas and Georgia, now lives in Marietta, Georgia, officials said. He is in custody in Georgia on charges including criminal homicide and is fighting extradition. Zanstra also allegedly gave authorities specific descriptions of Gretchen's clothes, even though he had denied seeing Gretchen that day, according to the criminal complaint. This January, prosecutors said authorities interviewed a woman who was best friends with Zanstra's daughter when they were children. She told police that at one sleepover at Zanstra's house when she was 10, she was awakened by Zanstra groping her, prosecutors said. When she told Zanstra's daughter, the daughter allegedly replied that her dad does that sometimes, according to the criminal complaint. The Harrington family said in a statement released by prosecutors, "We are extremely hopeful that the person who is responsible for the heinous crime that was committed against our Gretchen will be held accountable. If you met Gretchen, you were instantly her friend. She exuded kindness to all and was sweet and gentle," the family said. "We are grateful for the continual pursuit of justice by law enforcement, and we want to thank the Pennsylvania State Police for never stopping in their constant search for answers. We would not be here today if it was not for them."
We're here today to announce the arrest and the charging of David Zanstra. David Zanstra murdered in 1975 an 8-year-old girl named Gretchen Harrington. David Zanstra is, ladies and gentlemen, a monster. He is every parent's worst nightmare. This is a man who is a remorseless child predator who acted as if he was a friend, a neighbor, and a man of God. And he killed this poor little girl. In 1975, in August of 1975, Gretchen Harrington was an 8-year-old girl. She had been attending Bible camp at 2 different churches all during the course of that summer. One is at Trinity Chapel on Lawrence Road in Broomall. The second is her father's church, the Reformed Presbyterian Church. David Zanstra was the reverend at the first church, the Trinity Chapel. He is a family friend of the Harrington's family because Gretchen's father was the reverend at the second church. And the way Bible camp was running that summer is they would start first at Trinity Chapel Church at about 9:30 in the morning, and then they would move over, given rides over to the second church, the Reformed Presbyterian Church, sometime around 10 o'clock in the morning. Gretchen Harrington on August 15th decided to go to Bible camp. Her family had just had a new baby. She usually walked to the first Trinity Chapel camp with her sisters, but this morning she didn't. They didn't go to camp with her because of the new baby at home. But her father and her family encouraged her because she had had perfect attendance at these Bible camps to go by herself. And that ended up being, as we can know, a fateful decision. This happened in a matter of minutes. This poor young girl who lived on Lawrence Road, 27 Lawrence Road in Broomall, started walking towards the Trinity Chapel. She was met in a car by David Zanstra, who she knew because he was the reverend at the Bible camp she was going to, and she is the father of one of her best friends. So when he offered her a ride in his car, of course she got in the car. According to David Zanstra's own statement that he gave to our friends at the state police, he got her in the car, drove her to a secure location, asked her to take off her clothes. She refused. He then ejaculated in front of her and beat her to death with his hands. He then disposed of her body, went back to the Trinity Chapel Church and tried to act like nothing had happened. In fact, he worked with his wife when Mr. Harrington called to find out what happened to his daughter to report this to police. This man is evil. He killed this poor 8-year-old girl he knew and who trusted him, and then he acted as if he was their family friend, not only during her burial and the period after that, but for years. And he then moved on as a reverend, both to Texas and I believe in Georgia, where he has served in that capacity. In this case, it was a cooperating witness whose identity we're going to keep confidential. She was able to provide information that she believed at the time, she's a friend of both Gretchen Harrington and the Zanstra children, that he was a potential monster. And from that, these troopers went down to Georgia, interviewed Mr. Zanstra, and he admitted to everything we have said here today.